I'm saying the same things for our daily workflow, like our calendar, our task list, our computer, somehow, like all the mini tools that we use can be made more fluid with AI so that multiple people can collaborate for the same project without having to foreshadow everything. Because if I say I'm going to do a workshop every week for 3 months, it's like good for visibility because people, I can make promotion. I can say people, this will happen and people can start to register. But it's also really bad for my flexibility because what happens if, I don't know, I meet some people at Switzerland here and then I need to reschedule and we are all in this, we are still using like old tools and old practices.
Well, welcome at the next How to DAO podcast. Well, it's very a nice t-shirt, Sepp. Where you got it?
Yeah, I don't know. I just found it like somewhere. Took me some time to find it, but
We all got it here because we are in Switzerland, in the Swiss Alps. So many builders are here, and we are learning kind of about the new ways of living, new ways of building, and
trying to live together.
how to live together. And our today conversation is also about learning a new skill. So, Sepp, you've been an educator for some time. You were supporting builders in the crypto space and beyond. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and the initiative?
Yes. Okay. So I want to talk about Motoko Bootcamp. So it's a program that I've been doing since, well, it's been quite some time now, but basically the idea is simple. We want to take people from almost zero, like even if they don't have any familiarity with Web3, and introduce them to DAOs, because like that's basically the whole thing about crypto that is interesting for people that are not too much into financial stuff, you know. So DAO is really the thing that got me, I think also you, into why we are here. So the idea is really to introduce people in 1 week with like primitives, you know, building a token, building a voting system. I call that proto DAO now. I mean, that's a good term. And the idea is, to do that. So I made a course. The course is available online. Anyone can it's completely free, so anyone can just do it. And well, I've also done events in the past, like, you know, physical events and things like this. Right now, I'm not doing any event, but I want to go back to that flow of like doing events more regularly and stuff.
So how many events you have done? Like how many builders basically went through the program? Let's start with that, and then also what are the steps you feel like it's necessary to learn to actually build a DAO?
Yeah. So I have my KPIs. Like I can go on the Motoko Bootcamp. You can see like how many people have started the program, how many people have deployed an app, and how many people have completed the program. And you can see like how it's, you know, decreasing. But like around 100 people, I think 1,000 people have like signed up to the course.
That's cool.
Yeah, generally, like I haven't checked for a long time, but you have the video, so you can see like how many people have watched it. I've done quite a few events actually, like physical and digital events, and I would say here you don't necessarily have like big numbers because you can have like 25 people at an event. That's pretty small number if you compare with like, you know, bigger courses, but this is where I got the most impact. And that was like, so the first event we did was completely online. We brought people together in the ICP ecosystem. So at the time, the ICP was just starting like as an ecosystem, and there was this new language, Motoko. People didn't know how to figure out how to code. And I had been in the ecosystem for a bit longer, like, you know, going into documentation, going to do the dirty work of like trying to deploy stuff. So we said, okay, let's gather. I'm going to help people get set up, deploy their first app. So that was the first bootcamp. And after that, I think I've done like 8 bootcamp in total. I don't remember the number, like 8, and half of them online, half of them physical. So I always love when it's like,
yeah, it's always great to interact with the builders and like see what they build and like see the immediate outcome. Like when it's like this async course, you never know what the people are building, but when you see them in the either online group, but also like especially in person, like, and you see what they deployed and you can help them, and maybe some of them also like succeed in the future, and then like in any year you see that the successful DAO actually, that's super cool. let's get into the more curriculum kind of part, because I'm interested about that, because like we are also having courses on DAOs, around 6 weeks. So we are like a little longer trying to like really like work with people to build kind of DAO together as a cohort. But you focus more on, I believe, individuals, and they build each their own DAO. So what are the steps basically for them?
So it's mostly technical. I would say the course, the material that we have, it's focused on the Motoko programming language. So it's really about learning the basic of even like computer in a sense. Like you go into the very basic of how you declare variable in the beginning, stuff like this. The idea that I had is that I was new to this development, web development, and all sorts of things. I had some background with school, but I never did an application, like a proper application, before a Web3. So I wanted this to be accessible for anyone that is kind of in the same situation, not like professional software developer necessarily. So it's very technical. That's the part that we have. It's the how do you set up an app, and the DAO is more like an example of what kind of application you can do. But yeah, if I'm being honest, it's not a DAO. We are still so bad at like building DAOs. It's so hard. Yeah, it's the catchy like build a DAO. What was the question like?
So what are the steps for the builders?
The steps,
like, is there like first like to build a smart contract, or like understand the tokens or governance? Like what are basically like the builders in the like ICP ecosystem are learning day by day for the week?
Yeah, so it's divided in 7 chapters, and the first chapter is chapter 0. So basically like get set up, register, create an identity, and deploy your first application. The cool thing is that it's interactive. So you have a motivation letter to write, basically, like to join the bootcamp. So you write your letter, which is a program in itself, and then you submit it. And you can, once you've done it, you can see your name and your message. You can see it on a board, like a community board. So it's like this, interaction with the students. And then you go into the chapters, and the chapter 1 is about, let me actually remember. Okay, so it's maybe not the right order, but you have token, like how to build a token, voting system, page, database for your members, like storing the members of the DAO. And what are the 2 others? I think that's it. Then it's like the maintenance of the application, like deploying it and so on. So basically, it's like you go through all the base concept of the Motoko language. So from variables, then functions, then modules, packages, how to integrate with like other packages and so on. And you do that step by step while building your own proto DAO, basically. And at the end, you can submit it, and you have on-chain like feature that verifies your code, and then you complete the bootcamp.
And are you actually like creating the DAO? Like, are you actually creating the token and the DAO itself on chain, or is it more like you can, but that's like a next step?
No, it's actually truly on chain that you have to deploy it.
Okay.
So you have to deploy your contract. It's called Canister on the ICP, but like this server that you deploy, and then it basically checks against like the interface, and it makes a few verification. So it's live, and you have your
that's awesome.
DAO.
Because, like, I also believe in like more like a practical kind of education where like you actually do the thing, not just learn about the thing. Like I feel like if you don't really deploy the DAO, like you don't actually try and learn all the things, because even the deployment can go wrong, and then you learn how to fix it, and like it's another kind of lesson, a very valuable lesson in the kind of sandbox environment where you have like which can kind of help with that, or like explain why it didn't go as smooth as expected. Are there any examples of DAOs you would like to mention, like which has been built in your program, which you thought like it's a pretty cool idea to build?
So to be honest, we often have the same we all have like kind of the same ideas. Like a DAO for nature, a DAO for building governance tools. I see the same patterns repeating. It's not like a critic or whatever. I can see that it's kind of always the same thematic. But if I had one, I think it's the Nature Guild, the Green Guild. Yeah, the Green Guild. So it was from Boyan. It's someone I met at a physical bootcamp, and so his DAO was really about like how do we live more in touch with nature, and he had like a very nice presentation of it, you know. So I think it makes all the difference. Like when you can have many people having the same ideas, but it's just like how you present it. There was this nice web page. You could see like a nice landscape. You had different roles into the DAO. It was the same backend, like the same code, but just with a really nice presentation. And I remember this one in particular. So yeah.
Well, yeah, it's always about how it looks. Like even with food, for example, like you can have the same food, but depends how it looks and how it's served. It might taste different. Actually.
Exactly.
Definitely, like marketing and presentation, it's a lot everywhere. But like you also evolved the courses. Like now, actually, you know, AI, it's everywhere. Also, like you are realizing like DAOs are cool, but like if we can build maybe DAOs on top of it, AI on top of it, like that would make it actually way more innovative and way more useful. So what is the kind of new course like you are building about AIs and how it kind of fits together?
So yeah, that's really good points. So right now, if you take the program that we have, I want to basically reboot it. Like I want to start fresh and do a new one with all the learnings that I've gathered. And the idea is really to focus on AI, not forgetting the DAO aspect, but it's also the evolution of the technology for the past like 3 years. What's possible to do now, it's very, very interesting what you can do with agents. So I'm still in the building phase for this one. And actually, I think it will be different. Like, I'm not sure it will be like, like this course that you follow step by step. Because even myself, I am actually in the process of figuring out what's the best way to build an agent. So I'm doing it in my workflow. What you were saying, like it's this dynamism of like, it will be maybe like a live course. Maybe I will probably share more insight of how I do things myself. And so people can take inspiration. They can maybe advance certain things that I'm not thinking about, or like fork it, or probably something closer to that. But yeah, the bootcamp is going to be focused more around AI and agents.
Okay, so how you see like AI agents actually contributing to like DAOs, the efficiency of DAOs, or the overall like kind of Web3 ecosystem, like to make it better in some sense?
So I actually got like recently, I don't know how to say it, but like pilled. Like I think this is it. Like I think it's going to work. Like I'm confident that DAOs are going to work like in the next 5 years because of that. So, I wanted to make a DAO, and so when you want to do that, you focus like how the DAO is going to look like and everything. And that's the naive approach, like I would say, because it's not about that. Like this is the end result that you imagine, but you can't build a DAO that way. It's kind of like when you have a swarm, of birds. You have one bird and another bird, and you can focus on one bird. You can focus on the entire swarm, but actually, what's the key is how they interact with each other. So it's really this like hidden interaction and how things relate to each other more than the actual things. So I think that DAOs are going to emerge when we have tools that we can use differently. Like, I think it's all about that, like your calendar, your task list, your drive, like where you store your files. Like all the tools that we have, they have been built for a time where people work in collab. And the tools are working great. Like you can use Google Calendar, and like it works great for corporation setting, but it doesn't work at all for DAOs. Like we see so much problem. People don't know what tools to use. They move, like you have to give access. Like even in settings like Switzerland, we see the limits of the tools that we have. And we have the opportunity to redesign completely those tools from scratch in a DAO way. So I can give you like an idea that I have from 2 days ago. And it's basically, so back a few years ago, like 2 years ago, I was doing weekly workshop. So every week I was scheduling a workshop in my calendar and people could join. And then we would do some Motoko coding. Now I think, what if I do something where essentially, so what if, okay, this is going to be a bit confusing, but what if multiple people could schedule, I need to start again. So we come back to the AI agents. So the AI agent, maybe this agent is going to schedule session in my calendar, right? And I've been in a situation where there was not enough people to do a workshop. And I've also been in a situation where there was too many people to do like quality, give good feedback to everyone. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to do a workshop every week because that's good for me. It's regular. I can plan it and so on. But what if my AI was actually planning the workshop and the time based on the demand that people show on the website? Like they show maybe there is a token, they have to put some token. And when enough demand is reached, there is automatically a workshop that is created. And then it gets added to my calendar. Now that seems really basic, and we can say, why are you doing that? Because you're just overcomplicating things. But actually, if multiple people are using the same, maybe not the same exactly, but another version of my agent, like kind of parallel, and they can also be subscribed to that, potentially the workshop could be their workshop. And so, like, I'm not scheduling my future. Like, I'm not saying, okay, every week I'm going to have a workshop. I'm more fluid. So people can have a workshop. I can do a workshop when there is demand, so it meets at this point. And more other people can integrate into the calendar as well.
So basically, if I understand it correctly, it's kind of like a kind of free market thing, like a little bit of like supply and demand.
Yeah.
If there is a lot of demand, there will be a lot of
workshops
scheduled for you.
And for other people.
Exactly. So also like if there is a lot of demand, other tutors might come into the ecosystem to teach their workshop because it's like they see the opportunity for them as well. And you are basically creating the ecosystem where like through this like new tokenomics, you can actually create like, okay, this is really in high demand, so we need more tutors for that, but this is like actually falling in demand, so we need to like regroup basically. And it's like, it's not fixed, it's very fluid, and it's like basically following like kind of the free market practices, which is super cool. Am I like kind of understanding correctly?
There is this aspect of free market, yes, and that's why I think it's really powerful. And there is also the aspect of people using the same tool or using the same primitive to schedule events, to go into events. So social media, if we take the example of social media, they are built just on primitive, like liking, sharing, retweeting. Like those things are basically what makes social media. Of course, then you have people and content, but if you really go to the core, it's about those primitives. I'm saying the same things for our daily workflow, like our calendar, our task list, our computer somehow, like all the mini tools that we use can be made more fluid with AI so that multiple people can collaborate for the same project without having to like foreshadow everything. Because if I say I'm going to do a workshop every week for 3 months, it's like good for visibility because people, I can make promotion. I can say people, this will happen, and people can start to register. But it's also really bad for my flexibility because what happens if, I don't know, like I meet some people at Switzerland here and then I need to reschedule, and we are all in this, we are still using like old tools and old practices. Yeah. I think it's really the key, like here, we can unlock those framework, and then that's how I could see people starting to work together and be more efficient than corporation maybe.
Yeah, definitely. And like what you are saying is also like, those tools can be more like open source or decentralized in a sense. Like, Google Calendar, it's owned by Google. Why it works for a corporation is because they have an enterprise license and everyone uses the Google Calendar. But in DAOs, like people are coming from different, aspects. There is no centralized entity which will be buying Google Suite for everyone. Yeah. So now you need something which we can still share, but like it's not that we need to buy enterprise license for everyone, but it's more like with my tools I use personally, I can integrate with your tools you use personally, and then we can like kind of be on the same platform.
Exactly. And it's also like a reverse of how you design a software, because if you take example of Google Calendar, you have a calendar and then people register to the calendar and set up events. Yeah. With this model, it would be an opposite side where basically the calendar of Motoko Bootcamp or any other organization or DAO would be emergent properties of the calendar of all the participants. So it would be much more fluid, but at the same time, you would also avoid this mess of like, because DAOs sometimes are messy, like when there is this constant tension of like, do we make it very efficient, very, very clean and a little bit more corporate, or do we make it more loose and more community based? And I think there is like a good middle ground to find, and AI can really help, I think, with that. Yeah, we can still have a page where people can see when the next workshop are. They can simply register, but then all the magic happen in the background.
That's cool. No, I agree, because like I was just talking to another team which is also kind of building AI for the house, and like there are so many possibilities, and it can solve so many problems like security, efficiency, like innovation, because it can have as many ideas as you want. Basically, it has so much context and stuff, and also cross collaboration, because the AIs can like communicate between each other. So I think the future, it's bright in that sense, but like people want to learn about AI agents and how to build them. So when do you think they can join your course, or where they can follow you so they know that you started the AI course?
Do I have to answer that now? I don't want to give like a date where. So people can follow me today on Twitter X. It's Sepp _ and Motoko. So Motoko is my AI agent that I'll be working on, and I'll be sharing more things like publicly. I've already started a little bit, but it's not.
And we will put it in the show notes. So
yeah. And thank you. And motokobootcamp.com is the website where people can go.
So now you can learn how to build a DAO on the Motoko Bootcamp, and eventually, when Seb will post it on Twitter, you can also build AI agent. No, this is cool. I love to chat always about like the DAO future and using AI for the innovation. So thank you, Seb, for coming.
Yeah, thanks.
Of course.